in 2001 that if I told them where the Arabs were, I could grow all the poppy I wanted. And I said, what American told you could grow poppy? And the security guy says, meeting over. And he grabs me by the arm and he physically pulls me back to the Jeep. As soon as he started talking about his family,
You got him.
I knew I had him. That's what at the CIA we call the operational vulnerability. You always have to worry that you didn't actually recruit them. Have you ever heard of Ai Weiwei?
No.
He's one of the most popular artists in the world right now. He designed the Olympic Stadium in Beijing.
Ai Weiwei?
Yeah.
Oh, here. Is it
There he is. Ai Weiwei.
AI? Oh, there he is. Weiwei. He's Japanese or?
He's Chinese.
Chinese.
He was in prison for years because he's a pro-democracy activist. But when I was in prison, he did my portrait out of Legos. I was one of 178 political prisoners that he did. I'm next to Martin Luther King, of all people. And now it's in the permanent collection of the Smithsonian Institution.
Right here. Right?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Wow.
The Smithsonian.
That is so cool.
Have-
You're in the Smithsonian.
Yeah, it's in the Smithsonian's collection now. Have you ever heard of Andres Serrano?
No, I have not.
Have you ever heard of Piss Christ?
I have not.
It's a beaker of urine, and there's an upside-down crucifix in it. You're too young. So it came out in the 1980s.
There.
Piss Christ. Came out in the 1980s, and it made Ronald Reagan so angry that he cut off funding to the National Endowment for the Arts and to the
Why did it make him angry, though?
because it's a crucifix in piss.
Oh, my
It
God.
flipped out.
Holy moly.
So let me
and
see.
this was done by an artist?
Andres Serrano.
And what's the point of that? I don't get it.
It's like the absurdity of religion.
Oh, my God.
Right. So all it did was it made Andres even more famous.
Yeah. I would cut the funding, too.
Oh, listen, the Republican Party was absolutely furious. But he did my portrait, too. It's in a series of pictures from torture chambers around the world, and it's in the Tate Modern.
Wow.
In London. Isn't that hilarious?
And it's next to like this.
A torturer from the U.S. military.
Wow. Hold on. This is not a photograph?
It's a photograph.
Oh, it's a photograph.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there are some realist painters.
hyper-realist.
They paint just like this.
I was younger and fatter. But yeah, it's in the Tate Modern of all things.
That's incredible.
My girlfriend and I went to London in March, and we went to Tate Modern to see it. She's like, show off.
Did you? I would do the same.
I wanted to see it for myself.
Yeah.
You know, I've only seen pictures of it.
Oh, you've never seen it in real life? Oh, then what's so show off about that? There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Oh,
John,
man.
thank you so much for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I'm a massive fan. I always think to myself, if I had a second career, I'd be a spy or something like
There
this.
you go.
You know,
You're still young enough.
I don't think they would accept me. I'm 37.
You missed it by a year.
Yeah. But can you tell me what made you think? I mean, I know I read your story. I know you were in college. Professor recruited you, and most of the time, I think that's the way, people get recruited.
Yeah,
is through college. Right?
Yes, currently today, until 1993, when they passed the Equal Employment Opportunity Act, they could just say, "Hey, don't tell anybody. CIA, you want in?"
Yeah.
And then you have to pass the test, of course, but then you're in. Can't do that since 93, but they found a way around it recently. Until just a few years ago, you had to go to www.cia.gov and click apply. Not sexy at all. Not worthy of a story. But what they do now is they've got this program called the Scholar in Residence program.
Uh-huh.
So let's say you're from, Pittsburgh, and you're going to retire in 3 years. They say, listen, instead of retiring, why don't you move to Pittsburgh? We'll get you a a professorship at the University of Pittsburgh.
I see.
You teach a class in, the history of KGB operations in Armenia, and if you see anybody on the QT, let us know and we'll reach out to them. So that's the way they do it now. They have professors all over America at every major university. And they're like, CIA officer, scholar in residence. So everybody knows you're CIA. They're still doing what they have always done, but now it's out in the open instead of a secret.
Do you know the Unabomber story? About this,
MK Ultra?
Yeah, about this professor?
Yeah.
Do they do something like that until today? Where
they did that until 1975, but we like have to take their word for it that they're not doing that anymore. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your opinion?
We probably are doing something like that.
And I mean, back then it was MK Ultra. What would they do now? What kind of programs, in your opinion?
Oh, honestly, anything their hearts desired. All they have to do is write a letter to the chairman and vice chairman of the two oversight committees. They can do anything they want.
They just rubber stamp it and they said, okay, go do whatever you want.
This is a big beef that I have with the oversight committees, is that they don't oversee anything. They're just cheerleaders for the CIA. Back in the 70s, the oversight committees, well, they didn't become the oversight committees until 1976, but the Church Committee and the Pike Committee in the House almost dismantled the CIA because it was a rogue organization. It was murdering heads of state. It was overthrowing governments. It was carrying out secret wars. And then Congress is like, well, wait a minute. We never said you could do any of that stuff. With these special assassination devices, these guns, the likes of which nobody had ever seen before, that they just invented, for the purpose of carrying out assassinations. And so they created the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence that were supposed to oversee the day-to-day functioning of the CIA. That was great until about 1986. And then they just fell back to where they always were. And they're like, yeah, just do anything you want. Anything you want.
You were an advisor for the Senate oversight, correct?
For the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Yeah, under John Kerry.
Did the CIA somewhat lie under that?
Oh, my God, yes. I had nothing but trouble with the CIA when I was at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. I told this story to a reporter just yesterday. In 2008, when Barack Obama was running for president, a reporter asked him about something called the Dasht-i-Leili Massacre. This took place on December the 1st, 2001, in Mazar-e-Sharif, northern Afghanistan. So on November 30th and December 1st, 2001, 2,000 Taliban soldiers just gave up en masse. They just gave up to the Northern Alliance under General Abdurrashid Dostum. Dostum is a monster. He continues to be a monster.
Is he still alive today?
Oh, yeah. And now he's allied with the Taliban. He was allied with the Soviets, and then with the Taliban, and then with the Northern Alliance, and then with the Americans, and then with the Taliban again. He's a political whore.
I see.
And so he's also a murderous son of a gun. So Dostum called American forces and said, we have 2,000 prisoners. We can't hold them. What should we do with them? And the CIA told Dostum to put them on trucks, take them out to the desert, and hold them there until we could divide them up into smaller groups and then send them to prisons around the country. Because there's no prison in all of Afghanistan in 2001 that's big enough to hold 2,000 people overnight. Maybe you send some to Pakistan, whatever. So they called it the box up. They put all 2,000 men, they crammed them into containers that were on the back of trucks. There was no food. There was no water. And most importantly, there was no air. And when the prisoners started beating on the inside of the containers that they couldn't breathe, Dostum's forces just shot the trucks and said, now you have air holes. Killed an untold number. They trucked them out to the desert. It took about a day. And according to one of the 14 survivors,
out of 2,000,
When they opened the containers, the bodies fell out like sardines from a can.
Wow.
So Obama said, when he was candidate Obama, we need to investigate this and get to the bottom. Was the U.S. involved? Or was this just an unfortunate incident in the fog of war and blah, blah, blah? And then as soon as he gets elected, he's like, yeah, we don't need to investigate that. No. We're not gonna talk about that anymore. So I'm on the job at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for a couple of months, and I get a call from a very prominent, very important human rights activist who knows about these things. Not just some nut, from the street. This is like a serious guy.
Are you able to name the activist?
He asked me not to expose him. But he calls me and he says, I have some new information, very important information that you're going to need to hear, but I think we shouldn't meet in public. I said, okay, where do you want to meet? He said, there's an empty classroom at Johns Hopkins University. Let's meet there at 2 o'clock. I said, great. I go over to Johns Hopkins. The lights are off and everything. I get into the building, go to the classroom, and he's there. He's waiting for me. And he said, I know that you know all about Dasht-i-Leili. And I said, I do. I've written about it. And he said, I have a new witness who's just come forward. He's 20 years old, which means he was 12 when Dasht-i-Leili took place. He said that he was hiding behind a rock when they opened the trucks and the bodies all fell out.
Wow.
And I said, okay, so what's the new information? He said, the new information is that there were 2 men standing there wearing blue jeans and black T-shirts and speaking English.
CIA.
Who else, and this is what I said to him, well, who else could possibly be in the middle of the Afghan desert on December the 1st or 2nd, 2001, wearing black T-shirts and jeans and speaking English? So I said, I'm going to write to the CIA and I'm going to put them on the spot. So I get back to the office. I write a letter to the CIA asking for clarification. We've developed this new information. We want to know what the truth is. Was the CIA on site when
This happened.
the trucks were opened? So I gave it to Kerry. Kerry signed it, sent it to the CIA. 6 weeks pass. And a colleague of mine happened to come into my office, and he said, oh, hey, the agency responded to your letter. I said, I just checked my mail an hour ago. I didn't see any letter from the agency. He said, oh, they classified it as top secret. It's downstairs in the vault. At the time, I only had a secret clearance. And the letter that I sent to them was unclassified. I said, well, what's it say? And he says, it says, go f*** yourself. And I said, okay, that's how they want to play it. All right, that's fine. So I go over to Kerry's office, and I said, look, this is a cover-up. I'm 100% sure the CIA was involved in the Dasht-i-Leili Massacre, and now they won't answer your questions. I said, you signed that letter. My name wasn't on that letter. And he said, yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I think we should probably just drop this.
Typical politician.
Typical John Kerry, because he never, ever, ever wanted to do anything that could possibly jeopardize his chances of becoming Secretary of State. That's all he cared about. It's what he lived for.
Really?
Yeah. So, it's funny, going back a few months to January of 2009, he called me out of the blue, and he said, I'm going to be the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and I'm going to reinstitute the committee's investigative function. They stopped investigations in 1972. He said, with your reputation as a whistleblower, I want you to come here and head investigations, and I want you to go hard. And I said, great, I'm your guy. So we shook hands. I started working 2 weeks later. And every time I got close to something, he'd say, yeah, you're gonna kill this investigation.
He told you?
Every single time.
Personally.
And I'll give you another example. I said to a colleague of mine, I think I'm gonna go to Afghanistan next week. I wanna do a study on the heroin poppy crop, right? As recently as the late 1970s, Afghanistan was a net food exporter. They grew so much food, they were exporting it to Pakistan. I don't know if you've ever been to Afghanistan,
No, I have not.
but the entire country is just like a giant sandbox. And then there are these rivers that run through it, and then on the banks of the rivers, it's completely green. They were able to grow so much food, they could feed every Afghan and export it to Pakistan. It's incredible. Now, or in 2009, for as far as the eye can see, nothing but heroin poppy. And they had to import almost 100% of their food, right? People's children don't have shoes. They don't have enough to eat. But man, they've got 93% of the world's heroin. Can you imagine that?
And was this intentional? Was this told by a government?
It's intentional.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind that the Taliban banned the cultivation of heroin poppy. So in 2000, Afghanistan accounted for 0% of the world's heroin.
This is in 2000.
This is in 2009.
0%.
Is it 2009? 2000 is 0. 2009, 93%
of the world heroin.
of all the heroin in the world.
Wow.
So I fly out to Kabul, and there was a helicopter waiting for me and took me to Bagram. This was the only time in my entire career that I ever pulled rank on somebody. They said, "Listen, we're not going to take you to the poppy fields. It's too dangerous." And I said, "No, you are going to take me." "No,
Who
it's
are you talking to?
to the military." "No, it's too dangerous." And I said, "Listen, with all due respect, and I hate to do this, it's not my nature, but being a senior staff member on a congressional oversight committee, I have brigadier general 1-star status. So I'm ordering you to fly me to Kandahar and then to Lashkar Gah and then back to Bagram." So they did it. We go to Kandahar, and it was just a day of meetings in the base there. And I met the Afghans. They're all liars and criminals and, narco traffickers. And then we flew to Lashkar Gah, to something called the PRT, the Provisional Reconstruction, I forget what T stands for. It's a State Department function where they put you in the most isolated places in a country, and then you work with the locals to dig water wells, put up a windmill. Yeah. So we fly in, and I got lucky. I knew I was going to get lucky because the head of the PRT in Lashkar Gah was a friend of mine from the State Department. So he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I'm getting real pushback from these guys. They don't want to do any of this. But what I want to do is just get in a Jeep."
Can you tell me why they didn't want to take you?
Because I was asking questions that made them very uncomfortable.
But why were they getting uncomfortable, the military?
Who's protecting the heroin fields?
Got it. That's an answer I wanted to hear from you. So, I knew, but
Listen, I don't like the Taliban any more than you do.
Yeah.
But there was 0 heroin under the Taliban. And
it.
there's 93% heroin under the American
So what
government.
you tell me is that under the U.S. government protection, world's 93% of heroin was being overlooked by us, the U.S. military.
No. It was being encouraged by us.
Overlooked, encouraged to be distributed and to be spread.
That's the rub. So that's what I'm getting to. I said, I want to go out into the fields and I want to talk to a poppy farmer. He said, "Let's go." We had a couple of Jeeps. We had security. We had a translator. I don't speak Pashto. So we go out into the fields. And I mean, as far as your eyes can possibly see, it's just an ocean of heroin poppy. So sure enough, we see a poppy farmer. And we go up to him, "Salamu alaikum." And we get out, and he's like, "Who are you?" So I said, I'm from the Congress in Washington, and I want to talk to you about the poppy." He's like, "Okay, what about the poppy?" And I asked a very stupid question. It wasn't stupid, it was naive. I said, "Why would you grow poppy when you can grow vegetables with 2 growing seasons, like tomatoes or onions or pomegranates? You can You can cultivate them and then
Export them.
reap them twice in a year and export them. And he goes like this. He goes, the Americans told me in 2001 that if I told them where the Arabs were, I could grow all the poppy I wanted. And I said, what American told you could grow poppy? And the security guy says, meeting over. And he grabs me by the arm and he physically pulls me back to the Jeep.
You know, while he's telling this story, I feel like it's a movie. I swear to God.
But none of the movies in my stories have good endings.
Yeah.
The good guy always gets screwed in my stories.
Yeah.
So we go back to the PRT. Oh, it's too dangerous. There's a threat on your... There was no threat. Nobody knew we were coming. We get back on the helicopter, fly all the way back to Bagram. The next day, I go back to Kabul, fly to Dubai, and then from Dubai to Washington. So I went to see Kerry the day after I got back, and I said, listen, it's a bad situation out there. 93% of the world's heroin. He's like, my God, I didn't even know it was that bad. It's incredible. It's blah, 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 blah. So I write this paper, and I point the finger right at the CIA and the U.S. military. And before I gave it to Kerry, I sent it to a friend of mine at DEA. I had these two friends who worked at a secret DEA facility way out in the sticks, way out in rural Virginia. You'd never have any idea it was a government office. And I said, read this, let me know what you think. So he calls me back, and he says, buddy, you know you're never going to get this published, right? And I said, why? I said, I'm the chief investigator. And he says, look, Afghanistan produces 93% of the world's heroin. Right, I said. He said, all of that heroin goes to Iran and Russia, and we want them to be addicted to heroin. It weakens their societies. It weakens their cultures. It makes them easier to beat.
And this is coming from
we have to fight them.
DEA.
Yeah, a DEA senior officer.
Wow.
And sure enough, Kerry says, you know, on second thought, I don't think it really does any good for us to publish this paper. It's angry and it points the finger, and I think we should probably just kill it.
But you're telling me no heroin came to the United States from Afghanistan?
Our heroin comes from Ecuador and Mexico.
South Latin America. Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yeah. It's just too hard to get it from Afghanistan all the way to the United States when it can just come right up through Mexico.
Got it.
But then make a comparison here. Why won't the Chinese stop the flow of fentanyl to the United States? I'll give you one guess. Because it weakens our society and it makes us easier to beat if we have to fight them in a war.
Do you know, speaking of weakening the society, do you know that KGB agent who defected in the 1980s, who was a head psychologist? I forget his name. Yeah,
in fact, I went to his grave. He's buried at Rock Creek Cemetery in Washington. So his name escapes me right now.
Can you, Tom? Can you Google KGB agent defected to United States, like head psychologist? Oh, there he is. Yuri Bezmenov.
That's him.
Yuri Bezmenov. There you go. That was fast, Tom. Yeah. So I'm sure you've seen his videos.
Yeah.
And how he speaks about that it takes 20 to 30 years. Mm-hmm. For the KGB to work on, the minds of Americans, to shift their ideology, to shift the way they think. And the entire purpose of that is to weaken society, and he speaks about liberalism and how it's wonderful and how that, family values have to be diluted and, and so on and so forth. Religion shouldn't be included in American households or in schools.
And over the long term, they're succeeding.
And that's exactly what kind of is happening right now, right? I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people are fighting against that. And now you're telling me that, the Americans are doing the exact same thing, no different, or the Chinese are doing the exact same thing to the U.S. right now with fentanyl.
That's right.
And I was thinking that back, during the Cold War, yes, the Russians were the largest adversary. Mm-hmm. But right now,
they sure were.
It's the Chinese, right?
It's the Chinese.
And I was reading that in the past 10, 15 years, We had more Chinese national double agents arrested than any other national from any country.
One of the biggest intelligence threats to the United States, and this is not new, this has been decades, 80 years, is the threat of counterintelligence. You know, if you recruit a Russian, a Chinese, a Cuban, an Iranian, a North Korean, whoever, you always have to worry that you didn't actually recruit them. They allowed you to recruit them so that they could be double agents and report back to their home services.
Well, I have a question for you then. Let's go back to 1990 when you were just joining the CIA. World's one of the famous stories, Aldrich Ames. He was a double agent from...
Aldrich Ames. Oh, yeah, that was a little bit later.
Yeah.
He was caught in, 93, 94. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, major traitor.
Were you aware while you were in the CIA about that story?
Absolutely not.
Nothing. It was
Nobody was.
Totally.
There is literally nothing more compartmentalized than counterintelligence operations.
Wow.
They're the most highly classified, highly compartmentalized operations that exist.
And then after that, Richard Hansen, FBI.
You know, Hansen hit close to home. I had a great friend who was one of the mole hunters at the CIA, Brian Kelly. Brian is dead now. Hansen was the chief mole hunter at the FBI, but he was the mole.
He was the mole, yeah.
So what he did was, it's complicated. Our sources inside Russia began dying, right? They'd get arrested and then they would start dying. So we figured there's a mole. So they started...
this is in the 2000s?
No, this is in the 90s.
90s, okay.
So they started the investigation and they were able to figure out that it was Aldrich Ames, Rick Ames.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So they arrest Ames and he gets life without parole. One of the worst traitors of the second half of the 20th century. And then our sources keep dying. There's got to be another mole, a second one. And so Hansen and the FBI began the investigation. Well, the chief mole hunter at the CIA was Brian Kelly. And so Hansen directed his investigation at Brian and said, that's the mole.
Wow.
It's Brian Kelly. Well, the CIA is going to believe the chief mole hunter of the FBI, right? They're supposed to be the best in the world.
Why wouldn't they believe their own?
They would never, especially the FBI, would never believe that one of their own was a traitor.
No. Why wouldn't the CIA? Why would the CIA believe that one of their own is the mole instead?
Because one just was a minute ago with Aldrich Ames.
I see.
So they were like, oh my God, you know, something terrible is happening at the CIA. What they did is they bugged Brian's office inside the CIA. But he wasn't saying anything because he wasn't the mole.
Yeah.
Then they suspended him without pay. And they told him that he couldn't leave his house. He was like under house arrest.
But does he have a clue what's going on?
Now he's like, they think I'm the mole.
Okay.
He's hunting the mole.
Yeah.
And now they say, nope, Brian's the mole. They go to Oregon. A CIA security officer and an FBI agent go to Oregon. Brian's daughter was working at a nursing home at the time. And they told her, if you give us the information on your father, we won't execute him. And she's like, my father's innocent. Well, we're going to have to execute him then if you won't cooperate.
But that's a total farce.
It was all, well, no. I mean, they fully intended to
execute him.
Well, if they could.
If they would.
If not, it would be life without parole like they did with Ames. But they were serious. And so this went on for a year until there was an incident at the FBI where they had placed a recording device at a dead drop site in Vienna, Virginia, underneath a bridge, a little footbridge. And the drop was made, and then the mole did the pickup. So they were like, Brian Kelly, he went and made the pickup. But they had recorded it all. So they went and retrieved the tape, and they took it back to FBI headquarters, and they were all gathered around the table with a recorder.
To see who it is.
And they pressed play, and it was their boss, Hansen.
Wow. But this is later on already in the late 2000. No, 2007.
2000. Yeah, 2006,
yeah.
2007, something like that.
He got arrested in 2008, and
Okay, so then this would have been 2007.
Yeah, I think he retired, and then they arrested him.
Who, Brian?
No, yeah, Brian, yeah, Richard
or Hansen.
No, Hansen.
No, I don't think he had retired.
I think he was just about.
No, you know what it was? It wasn't retired. They had transferred him out.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was going to retire because he said for them to transfer him out like that to a lesser job, they were on to him.
Oh.
Yeah. So he had an assistant who wasn't really his assistant.
Hansen?
Yeah. I think his name was O'Neill. Eric O'Neill. We're connected on LinkedIn. So Eric O'Neill was actually there to spy on Hansen.
Whoa.
To see if there were any slip-ups that would indicate that he was the mole.
Eric was also an FBI agent?
He was an FBI agent. He was an FBI analyst. And there's a great movie that was made about it. I don't remember the name.
About Hansen?
Yeah, about the whole case, the whole Hansen case. Eric O'Neill is a hero in this movie. Breach, that's it.
Breach, okay.
Breach. So Eric O'Neill, the stress was so awful in this case that he quit the FBI after
Eric.
Yeah, after Hansen was arrested.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, Hansen hired my attorney to represent him, and I mean they had him dead to rights. He had no chance to ever win. He ended up taking a plea. And the only thing he got in exchange for the plea was that his wife could have his pension. That was it. He died a year ago or 2 years ago at the Supermax ADX Florence. Yeah, he never saw the light of day. But there's a postscript to this story to make it even worse. So Hansen's been caught, and Ames has been caught. And what's the idiot's name from the Counterterrorism Center who just got out of prison 2 years ago? So
when did he get arrested?
2000.
Oh, this guy.
8.
Oh,
Yeah,
so this is fairly recent.
Yeah.
Wow.
He just got out a year or two ago.
So I assume he didn't give too many secrets if he got out?
Well, he did 27 years of a 31-and-a-half-year sentence. But to make it worse, this he was a senior officer in the Counterterrorism Center when I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
And when Ames got arrested, and he said this during his trial, his case, he said when Ames got arrested, he thought, hey, the KGB probably needs another mole. I'm going to volunteer.
No way.
Uh-huh. He was the station chief in Singapore. And so he just found the KGB station chief and said, hey, listen, you want to recruit me? I want this much money, and I want, X, Y, and Z, and diamonds.
I mean, Ames was trying to keep his wife happy.
Yeah.
Who did he want to keep happy?
He was divorced a couple of times. He's paying a shitload of money in alimony. He did it for the money, for himself, just for the money.
Got it.
And he got caught. But not before he had outed hundreds of undercover CIA officers who then had to be brought in from the cold because they couldn't serve in Russia anymore. So they caught him, and they sentenced him to 31 years and 7 months in prison. So what does this idiot do? He calls his even stupider son and says, listen, here's this number. I want you to call this number. This is the KGB. And tell them that I'm going to give you information and you're going to give it to them, and I want them to put it into a secret account so when I get out of prison, I can still be rich.
Wow.
And of course, the kid just walks right up to the Russian embassy in Washington, and the FBI grabs him. Yeah, because the Russian embassy is
How
completely
can they
surrounded by FBI.
I don't understand. How can they be so naive?
I know, right?
Being a CIA.
You spent 20 years in the CIA and you're that stupid?
Yeah, I mean,
You deserve to get caught just
Yeah.
for stupidity. So,
even Aldrich Ames, since he started, making all that money, he bought a new car, he bought a new house, he was going on expensive vacation.
drove a Jaguar. You know what I paid for my car? I still remember what I paid for. It was the first car I ever bought brand new. I treated myself to a Volkswagen Fox the week before I started working at the agency. I paid $7,200 for it. It didn't even have a radio. I had to buy a radio. There's my car. I had to buy a radio at Best Buy.
Volkswagen Fox.
Yeah, Fox.
There you
Mine
go.
was never that nice. Do 1989 Volkswagen Fox.
Oh,
There it
you go.
is.
Oh,
That
there
the
you
second
go.
one in. That's
Yeah.
my car, right? Same color and everything.
This burgundy one?
Yeah,
Nice.
$7,200. Didn't even have a radio. Rick Ames is pulling in a
Brand new
$80,000 Jaguar.
How much was the salary for a case officer back then?
Back then, he was probably making in the high 50s.
50s.
Yeah,
How much is it now?
150.
Okay, it's not that bad.
Mm.
But you're never home.
No, no. But you know what though? I don't want to get too far afield. But you raise a good point here. My first station chief told me I was complaining about the money, and he said, "Oh, you just started overseas." He said there are a lot of GS-15 millionaires walking the halls.
What's a GS?
GS-15 is that 150 level.
I see. Okay.
Because you go overseas and you make your 150, right? And you get post differential, 10%, 15%. And you get danger pay, that's another 15%.
Oh, wow.
And then you get language pay, there's another 10 or 15%.
I didn't know there's such a thing as danger pay.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of danger pay. Because you tell me, you're my boss, and you say, you need to go to Yemen.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to go to London like him.
Yeah.
Right? How come I go to Yemen?
I go to Luxembourg.
Exactly. So they have to give you danger pay. Well, in only, altogether 8 months in Pakistan, I came home and I bought a house.
Wow.
I had so much money. I joked that they bring it to you in a wheelbarrow. There's so much money that you can make
But
overseas.
usually people never do it for the money.
No, I never met ever in my life a CIA officer who did it for the money. No, and neither did I. You do it because you're a patriot and you want to serve the country. You want to keep the American people safe.
But are you a patriot when they come and recruit you, or you become one afterwards?
Oh no, you're patriotic when they come to recruit you.
Oh, so they already analyze you.
Oh yeah,
they know
they've
who you
already
are
taken a look at you, a good hard look. Yeah,
before they even come and approach you.
yeah. Normally, yes. In my case, it was different because I had this professor who was actually a CIA officer undercover as a professor. I mean, he knew me. I had taken his class for a good 6 months already, and he was like, "Yeah, I think you'll be a good fit. What do you say?" And the truth was, I was getting married 6 weeks after graduation, and I didn't have a job. And so, what am I going to do? Like, get a PhD? And how do I feed myself and my new wife? So what do I do? So I said, sure.
When you were in the CIA, was that something that they made you learn to analyze people, their psychology?
Oh yeah. There's heavy training, and then my first assignment was in the psychology office. It was the Office of Leadership Development Analysis. Yeah, the office at the CIA that my professor had founded was the office that hired me.
You've known me only for 30 minutes. Can you analyze me?
A little bit.
I want to hear it.
I think that you are patriotic, both toward the United States and Armenia. I think your politics are slightly right of center. And we haven't talked about politics.
Oh, a little bit.
I can feel it.
We spoke about religion. That's where That's where you're picking that up.
Yep.
From.
I think religion is important to you. And I think you're a true believer in the American dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. We met each other, and within 15 seconds, you told me that you owned this business. That's impressive. There are Americans that have been here for 8 generations that don't own a business. You've been here for how long?
In the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Since '98.
And you own a business, and you own beautiful artworks on your walls. That's the American dream. That's the American
Yeah.
success story right there.
The only reason I said that is because when you entered, it
I
had
know.
my business name, and you were confused.
I was confused. I know, but you see
Not
what I
for
mean, though.
people to think I'm snobby. Just to
No,
tell
no,
you
no,
that
no.
I
Of
own
course
this
not.
place.
That
Yeah.
he just announced it.
Yeah,
When I walked in. No, that wasn't the case at all. But just in the course of conversation, like you and I could be talking about baseball, and you'll say something that I'm going to have to file, and then when I get back to the office, I would type it up and say, by the way, he mentioned
This.
this, whatever it is.
That's interesting, because what you're doing is also very important in business.
Yeah.
In the business world, we
Well-
also analyze people we deal with, especially when you meet them for the very first time, and you make a lot of decisions based on the first time you meet an individual. Yes, you can meet with them numerous times, and that will also help you to make a better decision. But that first impression, that first, instinct.
It is.
You know,
It's important. Let me
important.
tell you a story. After I left the CIA, I went to one of the big four professional services firms, Deloitte and Touche. Now it's called Deloitte. And I made a friend there who was a young partner. She had come from Ernst & Young. They made her a partner immediately. She was only there about 4 years, and then she took a partnership at PricewaterhouseCoopers. So we stayed in touch, and when my first book came out, she called me and said, hey, would you come to our partners offsite and give them a pep talk?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, sure, but like, what am I going to tell 140 PricewaterhouseCoopers partners that they don't already know? So I gave it real thought. So I told them this story. I said, when I was serving in Pakistan, we got word that there was a group of mid-level Al-Qaeda people who went to the same Arab coffee shop every single day at 10 o'clock. They would go in, it was 4 of them, and they would just sit and have some coffee, sit there and talk, and then they'd leave by 11:30. When I was in Pakistan, for operational reasons, I grew a long, bushy beard. And I wore shalwar kameez. So, أنا أتكلم اللغة العربية, right? So I fit in. And I had an Arabic language newspaper, and I went in. I knew they were coming at 10, so I'd go at 9:30. Sit there by myself with my coffee, reading the Arabic newspaper. And I never said a word. So they would come in, and I noticed that one of them kind of glanced at me. Didn't stare at me or anything. He just kind of glanced. Yeah, and I didn't react. I didn't nod. I didn't, nothing. The next day, they came in, and he looked at me, and I'm sitting there reading the paper and drinking my coffee. That went for a week. The second week, I'm sitting there, and he comes in, and he nods. So I nodded back. That went on for another week. The third week, he says to me, salam. I said, wa alaikum assalam. And then finally, one day, he came in by himself. And I told him, tafadal.
Have a seat.
Please, have a seat, sit with me. We start chatting. Where are you from?
This is all in Arabic.
Arabic. And he says, I'm from Egypt. I said, oh, are you here with your family? No, he said, my wife is in Cairo with our daughter. He said, our daughter's 9, and I have a 5-year-old son that I've never met. His wife was pregnant when he came to make jihad, he said. So I asked him what his plans were, and he said, I'd like to go back. He said, I'm tired of the fight. I just want to go back and just be with my family and live live a normal life. So we talked about that for a little bit. And then I invited him to lunch. We went to lunch, and we're sitting talking about his family, and we're talking about jihad. And finally I said, I like you. You're a nice guy. But listen, I said, please forgive me. I wasn't completely honest with you. I'm actually not Lebanese. And he said, you have
An accent.
just the slightest accent. The truth was my Arabic teachers were Lebanese. So that's how I learned it. I said, I'm actually American. And And he looks at me, and I said, more than that, I'm an American CIA officer. And I said, and I noticed that you're not running, screaming from the room. He said, I'm willing to listen. So I said, you seem like a nice guy, that this jihad thing, it's not for you. He said he was in Tora Bora, hiding in a cave, and we fired a cruise missile into the cave. He was one of only 2 people who came out of it alive. He called it the most hideous explosion he had ever heard. Hideous was the word that he used. And when he came out, his ears were bleeding. That's how bad it was. He said he just wanted to go home.
Did you open up because he spoke about his family and how he mentioned
it was all about the family. As soon as he started talking about his family,
you got him.
I knew I had him. That's what at the CIA we call the operational vulnerability. So I said to him, you don't need to stay around here. He said, well, I have nothing. I have no money. I have no passport. I have no way to get home. I said, I can take care of all of that for you. He said, well, what do you want from me? And there was something very specific that I wanted from him, which he gave me. Mm-hmm. So I worked with our Egyptian embassy friends. They made a passport for him. I bought him the ticket home. I gave him a substantial amount of money.
How much?
No, they wouldn't let me say.
Okay. 6 figures?
No, but for an Egyptian with a 6th grade education,
it was a lot of money.
Enough money to live the rest of his life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But it was less than 6 figures.
Yeah. Not much less.
Got it.
But less. So I took him to the airport. And I said, before you leave, I have to ask you one question. Why did you allow me to recruit you? And without missing a beat, he said, because I've been here 5 years, and you're the only person who ever asked me about my family.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So you touched his heart.
That was it. I treated him with respect.
Treated him like a human.
Like a human. So I'm telling the story to these 140 PricewaterhouseCoopers partners. And I said, now you may be wondering, why is he telling us this story? It's because what I did and what you do every day really aren't so different. Because it's all about the relationship.
And that's what your argument is all the time.
And I said, is it hard to just say, how was your kid's Little League game last weekend? Is your husband recovering from that, elbow surgery? Where'd you go on vacation this year? Just have a little conversation. Just show people a little bit of interest in their mundane day-to-day lives. I said, listen, if I can get this guy to commit treason against Al-Qaeda, you can win that contract at the Department of Agriculture. How hard is it? And it struck a chord.
I have a question. You worked with John Kerry, you said.
Closely.
Have you ever worked with Adam Schiff?
No.
Because he was also on the
he was on the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
Affairs Committee. And he was one of the lead congressional members on that committee.
Uh-huh.
You never worked with him at all?
I have a very strong dislike of Adam Schiff.
Why?
Because Adam Schiff is really the antithesis of what liberal democracy really is. Adam Schiff never saw a war that he didn't want to jump into with both feet.
Really?
Yeah.
He's been pro-war all the time.
All the time. He pretends to be this liberal.
He's been in office since 2000. So Afghanistan, Iraq.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Somalia.
Tunisia.
Sure.
Libya.
Yeah. Libya. Absolutely right.
Speaking of those North African countries, can you pull up that video I'm sure you've seen this video, by General Wesley Clark?
Oh, this is a famous video.
Right.
Listen, I love Wesley Clark.
You know him personally?
He's one of the very, very few people at that level.
I said, we're going to war with Iraq. Why? He said, I don't know. He said, I guess they don't know what else to do. So I said, well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to al-Qaeda? He said, no. He says, there's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries
Every word
in
that he
5
said
years.
was true. I'll tell you a story. I've told it before, but it's important in this context. When I got back from Pakistan on the strength of the capture of Abu Zubaydah, I was promoted and named executive assistant to the CIA's deputy director for operations. In that position, the executive assistant positions, all the big muckety-mucks have at least one. You have access to literally everything that the CIA is doing around the world.
Wow.
Everything. So on my very first day, I was so excited. I went up and I said, so what are we doing? And he said, actually, I can't tell you until you go to security and sign your secrecy agreements. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm at a higher level now. They must be doing some crazy stuff that, they can't tell me until I sign.
Did you have to take polygraph tests?
After pre-hire, after 3 years, and then every 5 years for the rest of your career.
You take a polygraph?
Yeah.
Okay.
And background investigations. So I go to security. They had 6 secrecy agreements laid out on a table. They were waiting for me. So I signed each one of the 6. And I said to the guy, I knew the guy. We had served together. I said, so what's up? And he goes, well, next year, we're going to invade Iraq. We're going to overthrow Saddam Hussein. And we're going to open the world's largest Air Force base in southern Iraq. We're going to remove all of our air assets from Saudi Arabia and send them to Iraq so that we can deprive Osama bin Laden of the ability to say that we are polluting the land of the 2 holy mosques.
What year is this?
2002.
So before he announced. He announced in March 2003.
Yeah.
We went to war.
No, this was May 6th, 2002.
Wow.
So I was so dumbfounded. I said, but we haven't caught bin Laden yet.
Yeah.
Like, I thought everybody in the building, everybody in the agency is single-mindedly focused like a laser on Osama bin Laden. And he said, buddy, the decision's already been made. And there are battle lines already drawn.
Wow.
He said the pro-invasion faction was OVP, the Office of the Vice President, OSD, the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and the National Security Council. And the anti-war faction was the CIA, the State Department, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because the CIA, we were like this with bin Laden. All we wanted was to kill bin Laden and to take al-Qaeda apart piece by piece. And then they want us to pivot over here to Iraq. Iraq hadn't done anything to us.
What was the true nature of the Iraq War?
I always believed it was revenge. Right?
From the first Gulf War?
Yeah.
Daddy Bush to some Bush?
Precisely.
Simply as that?
I really believe that it was that simple, yes. Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening, and this comes back to General Clark's interview, the night before we attacked Iraq, there was what was called a Principals Committee meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So the Principals Committee is chaired by the President, and it includes the Vice President, the National Security Advisor, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the CIA Director, and then a small smattering of people from the NSC, the Director of Intelligence Programs, the Senior Director for the Middle East. I think that was it. For whatever reason that night, the President did not chair the meeting. He was not in the meeting. So the meeting was chaired by Dick Cheney. Oh, and General Tommy Franks, the commander of CENTCOM, was there. So Cheney, we have all these TV screens here. And here at the head of the table is George Tenet. I'm sitting directly behind him.
George Tenet is
the CIA director
at the time.
I'm sitting directly behind him as his note taker. So everybody, all the principals also get a note taker. So here are the TVs. There's Cheney, there's Condi Rice, Colin Powell, Don Rumsfeld, General Franks, this guy, that guy, the other guy. So the vice president starts off by saying, General Franks, why don't you begin by giving us the order of battle briefing? I say this all the time. I hate order of battle briefings. They're so mind-numbingly boring. I don't even know why they do them. They say, well, Mr. Vice President, we have elements of the 1st Army Corps are moving south, 20 clicks south of the oasis here, and then the 4th military armored... who cares where your little men are?
Understand.
Yeah, well, I don't care where your little men are on the map. Is that where you want them to be? Okay, let's move on to something more interesting, right? So George says, yeah, don't write that down. Don't write that down. So I'm not even paying attention. So Cheney is saying, so we're good to go for tomorrow. We're going to cross the border at 6 a.m., right? Which is like 11 p.m. that night, Eastern time. And he says, Mr. Vice President, I'll never forget it. Mr. Vice President, if all goes as planned, we'll be in Tehran by August. And very discreetly, George leans forward and turns off his microphone. Like you couldn't even notice it. Turns off the microphone and he goes like this. Did he say Tehran or did he say Baghdad? And I said, he said Tehran. And George says, have they lost their minds? And then he turns the microphone back on and he just sits there like this. George didn't say anything in the briefing. So the meeting ends and they're all like high-fiving each other at the end of the meeting. And one of these assholes from the NSC, he was the senior director for the Middle East. As we're getting up at the end of the meeting, he says, because he's an expert, he says, when we cross that border tomorrow, they're going to throw flowers at us. So I go back to the office. The deputy director says, how'd the principals committee meeting go? And I said, did you know we were going to invade Iran? And he goes, are they still talking about that? We're not going to invade Iran. And I said, do these people know nothing about history? And he said, no, they know nothing about history.
But why was Iran on the table anyway?
Because we hate Iran.
Simply because
That's
of
it.
that?
That's it.
So
we're the good guys. They're the bad guys. So we need to overthrow them.
So we didn't need a reason.
No. See, this is that. I'm glad you said that. This is a little thing with me. When I debate people who believe in conspiracy theories, well, 9/11 was an inside job because we needed a reason. We don't need reasons to invade a country. If we don't like their face, we invade. We don't need to blow up the World Trade Center and kill 3,000 of our own people to say, oh my God, that means we have to invade Iraq or Afghanistan.
So why haven't we until now?
Because we got bogged down every time we try it.
By whom?
By everybody.
The world?
20 years in Afghanistan and we lost? 18 years, 19 years in Iraq,
Yeah, it was the
and we
world's
lost?
World's longest war.
Yeah,
Afghanistan war.
yeah, in modern times.
Yeah.
Yes. Every time we launch one of these wars of liberation, we lose.
But right after Iraq, Afghanistan,
Yeah.
we did we didn't have boots
Well,
on the ground.
remember what Barack Obama said. Lead from behind.
Yeah.
The lesson that Obama
Proxy
learned.
war.
Yeah, exactly.
Syria.
Let others do your dirty work.
Yeah, Tunisia, have the
Yes,
CIA go to Libya
exactly.
and overthrow.
Yeah,
Gaddafi.
and that didn't work out so well, did it?
But eventually we did overthrow him, didn't we?
And it's still a basket case.
Yeah,
And now we
but so is
we
Iraq.
long for the days of
Gaddafi.
Muammar Gaddafi, when it was stable and we could buy that beautifully pure, sulfur-free Libyan oil.
Are we influenced by anybody in order for us to take these actions? Are we influenced by any governments, foreign governments?
You're just going to dangle that right in front of me, aren't you?
I'm just, So this is the way
I'm pulling your leg.
I know,
Of course, the answer is yes. Of course,
this is
we
the
are.
way I think. I look at a country just like a business, and the business and the country have consultants and other entities that influence decision making. And those decision makings can also have potential, reasons for the person who's advising for them.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I can tell you, in all the years that I was in the CIA, no matter who the president was, Benjamin Netanyahu, whether he was the Israeli ambassador to the United States, the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, the minister of whatever, the prime minister, he would come and ask whoever happened to be the president, you got to invade Iran. You got to invade Iran. I'm begging you. You got to invade Iran. Iran, Iran, Iran. And every president would say, we're not going to invade Iran. Until this one.
Why would we listen to them?
Well, because AIPAC spends millions and millions of dollars.
I know, but AIPAC spends money on Congress, on Senate, on senators, congressional members, but eventually the commander-in-chief is the one who's going to make the decision.
And they're donating to that campaign, too. Sheldon Adelson didn't just decide from the goodness of his heart that he just happened to love Donald Trump's personality, and he's going to give $120 million in 2016, which is what he gave, and then pay out of his own pocket for the American embassy to move from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Tell us the reason why that happened. Why did the embassy move?
Because of AIPAC.
What was the purpose of that?
Just to show support for the Israelis.
That's it. Simple as that.
It was as simple as that.
From Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
The embassy was always in Tel Aviv, right? Because Jerusalem was disputed territory. Mm-hmm. And so in 1993, Congress, under pressure from AIPAC, passed a law moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, but freezing the move until there was a formal peace treaty between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And so that's why, even though the law passed in 1993, the embassy never moved. And then Donald Trump said, screw the Palestinians. He closed the PLO office in Washington. He expelled all the Palestinian diplomats and then moved the embassy
to Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. Was this before? I don't remember when the Abraham Accords were. Was this after or before that?
It was just before.
Just before.
It was just before the Abraham Accords.
If the Abraham Accords actually helped that. For the moving of the embassy, for all these other nations.
The embassy moved first, and then within the next 10 or 12 months, the Abraham Accords were signed. Yeah, right. When I was in Bahrain, I served in Bahrain from 1994 to 1996. And this is immediately post-Oslo, like less than 12 months post-Oslo. Oslo was where Israel and the Palestinians came to an agreement.
Oslo Accords.
Right, the Oslo Accords.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, there's this flurry of, peacemaking activity.
This is during Clinton, right?
Clinton, correct. And so each one, 5 of the 6, not including Saudi Arabia, but Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates, each decided to host a different component of peace talks. Mm-hmm. So in Bahrain, we hosted the Arab-Israeli peace talks on the environment, right? So these senior level Israeli political officials, diplomats, the Minister of Environment, the Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister, the Israeli Ambassador to the United States, they all came to the conference. In Oman, it was the peace talks on fish and wildlife or something like that. Everybody had a role to play.
Yeah.
Except the Saudis. Saudis wanted nothing to do with this. And we thought, okay, by 1996, this is crazy, but there's going to be peace in the Middle East. Until there wasn't. And then they started fighting again, and the Israelis started killing more people, and then everybody just pulled out, and that was the end of it. And then with the Abraham Accords, what the Israelis were successful in doing was splitting the Arabs, right? So the Tunisians open relations, mm-hmm. the Emiratis open relations,
UAE.
The Bahrainis,
Saudis, not yet.
No way.
But they're
Sudanese, the Moroccans, they all opened embassies in Jerusalem. Okay, so where does that leave the Palestinians?
Yeah.
If you can't rely on your Arab brothers, where most of your people are living and working anyway, who can you rely on? The last ones were the Saudis.
Yeah.
And now the Saudis until October 7th, the Saudis were engaged in talks with the...
and they were becoming a friendly Arab nation to the Israelis.
Exactly.
I have a question for you. You're mentioning that it's because of AIPAC, it's because of money, it's because of people like Sheldon, Adelson.
Yeah.
If it wasn't the Israelis or, that community, would it be possible for a different community? I don't know, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Armenians?
To take the lead?
No, to have a similar approach?
Listen.
Have an Armenian AIPAC?
Oh, yeah, there should be. No, I think AIPAC...
I mean, there's a lobbying group,
of
but
course.
I want to understand.
Of course, just like the Greeks.
It's AIPAC. It's because of AIPAC. So
no, AIPAC should be the model. Listen, the AIPAC people... AIPAC's been around for a long time, since the 50s. But they really do it right. They know exactly how to raise money and how to organize politically. And their strategy is to take no prisoners. You're either with them or you're against them. There's no middle road. And they put their money where their mouths are. They don't just send $250 to a congressional campaign. They'll send $500,000 to a congressional campaign. And if you vote wrong on Israel, they will primary you. And the chances are they're going to beat you. And they're going to beat you with somebody who's pro-Israel and will vote exactly the way they want them to vote.
But I want to understand this concept. Everybody is, in so many words, bitching about AIPAC.
Right.
If it wasn't AIPAC, it was, again, I'm bringing an example, the Jordanian PAC. And the Jordanians had as much
I see what
influence. You mean. You think...
No. I think no. And I think no...
Would it be the same concept of America pro-Jordan, America doing everything for the
don't think so.
Of,
No, I think it's because...
So what's the the specialty of Israel or the Israelis?
Right. It's that American Jews are highly educated, and they tend to be, on the whole, wealthier than the average demographic in America. They've also been in America since there was an America.
Forever, yeah.
So they've had 2.5 centuries to plan and to strategize and to be involved in political life and fundraising, banking, Hollywood, education. They're successful. They're probably the most successful ethnic group in America. The Greeks like to say that we're the highest educated and second wealthiest group, with American Jews being the most successful.
I thought it's the Armenians.
The Armenians are pretty darn good. They're pretty darn good. They're just, the problem is there aren't enough of you.
Yeah. Well, we're actually plus or minus worldwide.
Yeah.
I think there's a total of maybe 12, 13 million Jews all over the world. And there's about 10 million Armenians worldwide. So we're not...
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's at least 1 million...
Well, then, see, this goes
Armenians
to prove...
just in California.
And that's the seat of your power, right here in California.
Yeah.
That's why I think ethnically oriented lobbying groups should really take a good look at AIPAC, because everything they've done right.
Should that be banned in America?
No, but I'll tell you what should be different.
Ethnic lobbying groups. Because there's, for instance, the Turkish lobby is very wealthy.
Tell me about it.
They are no different than the AIPAC. Any congressional member in middle of America, middle of nowhere, they donate a bunch of money.
Yes,
the
they do.
first thing they do is take him to Ankara
Yep.
or Turkey and give him a massive, beautiful tour with the red carpet and a limo, just like the Israelis
do.
Taking them to Israel and going, to the wall and making sure that they have a picture of praying there.
Right.
Or, so...
You're absolutely right.
So should that be banned in America? Should a foreign ethnic lobbying group be banned in America if they're constantly advocating for their home country of Turkey and Armenia and Israel?
I would say that the Supreme Court would probably find that a ban would violate the First Amendment. But, and this is important, AIPAC is different from all these other lobbying groups, because every other lobbying group, ethnic lobbying group, has to register with the Justice Department as a foreign agent.
Foreign agent, exactly.
Right.
AIPAC is not registered as a foreign agent.
Does not register as a foreign agent. Why?
I don't know. You tell me.
Don't know.
You've been in the government.
I don't know. They get a free pass.
Why?
I
By
don't know.
whom? By which department? You know, which?
Well, it starts with justice.
Yeah.
But the bad guys in that scenario are Congress.
Congressional members. And because of, again, donations, AIPAC, they will overthrow you.
It's all about the money.
Pretty much.
It's about the money and the continuation of political power. Yes.
It's interesting.
I've said before that my very first week on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and I knew this was going to happen because I had been told by colleagues it's going to happen. I was there, I don't know, 3 days, 4 days, whatever. And these two guys come into my office. I shared the office with 3 other people. I said, may I help you? Hi, welcome to Capitol Hill. I said, this is not my first stint on Capitol Hill, but thank you. May I help you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're from AIPAC. That's the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. I said, yes, I'm aware of what AIPAC is. We would like to invite you on an all-expenses-paid trip to the Holy Land, not to Israel, to the Holy Land. I said, oh, no, thank you. I can do my own vacations. Oh, it won't cost you a thing, and it's approved by the Senate Ethics Committee. I said, no, I know that it is, and I appreciate it.
This is total legal bribery.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And 3 or 4 of my colleagues took the trip. I didn't take the trip.
I mean, look, I'm not saying anything for them not to do it because every lobbying group does that.
Sure.
Armenians do it.
Sure. Greeks do it.
Greeks do it. Turks do it. Now another massive lobbying group emerging and spending millions and billions of dollars are the Azeris.
The Azeris?
Yes, the Azeris. They are spending massive dollar amounts.
This is going to be a problem.
On the United States to make sure they are loved and liked.
These people don't even have shoes, and they have money for lobbyists.
Yes, I mean, they have oil. They have, they
do. They have oil.
They're opening up pipelines to Europe.
Yeah,
they are best friends of Israel. Israel gave them,
and Turkey.
And yeah, Turkey. They're half brothers.
Yes, they are. They're half brothers. That's a good way to put it.
Israel is one of their closest ally.
Yes,
and Israel is a tool to use America.
You know, I've watched the Azeris for a long time, only because I'm Greek American, and the way we were raised, and you are probably the same way, but we were raised that the Armenians are our brothers.
Yes,
right. We went
absolutely.
through the massacre together. They killed the Armenians. They killed the Syriacs. They killed the Greeks. In fact, my mother's parents were escapees from the Pontian massacre. So we have this bond. Well, the Azeris were always on the wrong side of that issue, and the Azeris can't get along. They can't get along with the Armenians. They don't get along with the Greeks. They don't get along with the Russians anymore. They don't get along with the Iranians.
They're exactly like Turks. Who does Turkey get along with right now?
Turkmenistan.
Nobody. Exactly. Turkmenistan. And maybe Pakistan.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
They don't get along with anybody. The Russians, I mean, they're great diplomats. They're
they are.
They have the NATO's first, I mean, in the region, I think they have the NATO's second or third largest military.
Yeah, they do. It's the United States, Germany, and Turkey.
Yeah, so they're a massive, massive country. They have how many million? 150, 160 million people.
Gotta be.
Right?
Yeah.
And they've been around the block for a while, and they've been playing every single game, and it's been all the time, every single time, it's been great for them. They have never been punished for anything, whatever they've been doing.
Absolutely true.
And why? Because of their lobbying, efforts here in the United States. I mean, for God's sakes, they came here to the U.S. Erdogan had a meeting at the White House, and then there were these Armenian protesters outside.
Oh yeah.
So the not the Secret Service, Erdogan's Secret Service went out there.
Yes.
They fought the protesters.
Literally, physically fought the protesters.
Beat them.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
No.
Nothing. And this was all over the news, by the way.
Despite the fact that later, 12 months later, whatever it was, a court ruled that the Secret Service was wrong to not arrest the Turks on the spot. That those Turks did not have diplomatic immunity. They aren't accredited by they're visiting. They're guests. They're not accredited by the State Department, and that they should have been arrested and prosecuted, and they weren't.
Diplomatic immunity only goes for what? The ambassador, people at the embassy?
Yeah, right? People at the embassy. You have to be... What happens is you arrive in the country, and then your embassy sends a letter to the State Department saying, The diplomats that have just arrived are these people, and these are their spouses. So then they are accredited as a diplomat to your country.
Yes.
If you happen to land at Dulles Airport and you have a diplomatic passport, that does not mean you have any immunity at all.
You have to let the State Department know.
Right. And the State Department has to accept your credentials.
Got it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. This foreign lobbying groups are just, getting America by its balls.
Yeah.
Does Israel have America by its balls?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. I had a friend. He died a couple of years ago, but he was the second wealthiest Greek American, completely self-made Greek Cypriot. Nikos Mouyadis. This guy was a giant in my recent life. And he told me one time, he's like, look, I came here penniless. I came as an illegal immigrant. He borrowed $10,000 from his sister and $5,000 from his brother while he was working on a PhD in chemistry. And he opened a company called Manna Cosmetics that became the world's largest manufacturer of cosmetics and women's makeup. Okay? Multi-billionaire. And generous. That's a whole different story. But anyway, he said that he called together this group of like the 10 richest Greek Americans. John Katsimatidis in New York and Paul Mitchell, the shampoo guy, he's Greek. All the wealthiest ones. And he said, look at us. We're the richest Greeks in this country. And where are we meeting? In the back room of some restaurant. He said, why don't we own a skyscraper? The Israelis do, or the Jewish Americans do. Why don't we? Why don't we pool our money and buy influence in Washington? Why is it only AIPAC? How come the Greek lobby is actually two guys in a small building at DuPont Circle? Why? What's wrong with us?
Why?
They couldn't answer him. So at that meeting, they agreed to continue meeting every month until they could build something like AIPAC built and invest in the community. And you know what happened?
What?
There was never a second meeting. He's like, what am I going to do? I can't force them.
Yeah.
There's the Greek lobby.
Do you think it's a cultural thing? It's like every man for himself kind of a thing?
I think that American Jews have such a deep love of Israel and such a deep cultural connection to Israel that they see it as their cultural duty as Jewish Americans. The Greeks don't feel that way.
I mean, some kids go to Israel to serve in the army.
So many of them do.
And then they come
I'll tell you
here.
what. I grew up in a city that was much more heavily Muslim than it was Jewish. There was one small Jewish synagogue, but we had several mosques. There was a mosque for the Arabs who came between like 1900 and 1920. Then there was a mosque for the South Asians that came later on in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. And then there was a third mosque so that the conservative South Asian Muslims had their conservative mosque where the men were on one side, the women were on the other, and there was a divider going down the middle. And then there was like the liberal mosque that they didn't so much follow those rules so closely. We didn't really have Jews in our city growing up. There were a handful, but not many, mostly Muslims. But then you go to a bigger city like Washington, and they really had their act together. They had been doing this since, 1955? Yeah, something like that. And then they really started going quickly in the early 70s. When Richard Nixon made it American policy to support Israel no matter what, that was a change in American policy.
That is so interesting.
Everything changed.
Because I don't know if you've seen his interviews after he was president.
He really didn't like Israelis.
That's what I'm saying. And so I'm surprised while
it was all about the vote. It was all politics.
I mean, he was a one-term president.
Well, yeah, 1.5. He would even criticize Israel in kind of racist terms to Henry Kissinger's face, and he was Jewish.
He was Jewish, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think
1954?
Do you think Israel plants people like Jeffrey Epstein here,
Absolutely,
and
yes.
to use, such compromise
Absolutely, yes.
for their foreign policies.
I'm on record as saying I took real shit from the former head of Mossad and from Alan Dershowitz and others who are,
who was on the list
in the Israeli
by the way.
camp, who was on the list, but he kept his underwear on. 86-year-old man being massaged by a 16-year-old, but he kept his underwear on. So I went on the Piers Morgan show, and it was Danny Ayalon? He was the head of Mossad. He's an elderly man now, but Danny Yatom, thank you.
Yatom.
Yes. So it was Danny Yatom and Alan Dershowitz against Scott Horton and me.
Mm-hmm.
And
who's Scott Horton?
Scott is one of the most brilliant libertarian thinkers in America today. Scott, I ran into Scott on Wednesday. There he is.
Okay.
This guy, I'll tell you what, I've been on a bunch of shows with Scott, and I could just sit there like this and just enjoy listening to him speak.
Let him rip him apart.
He's so smart and so well-read and so well-reasoned. I don't know how he keeps all the information in his head. Brilliant. He won a big award the other day from the Association of Independent Journalists. Anyway, Piers asked me if I thought Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli Mossad agent. I said, absolutely, positively, yes. And General Yatom, he sat there like this the whole show. He just goes, oh. And then Dershowitz is like, I object to that, and constantly interrupting. It's not my nature to interrupt. Or if I do, I apologize for interrupting. Finally, Pierce told him, will you just shut your mouth and let the man answer the question? So I said, look, the Israelis have always spied on the United States, deeply. I said, on my very first day at the CIA, where all the new hires, we're sitting in the CIA auditorium called the Bubble, and we're getting briefed by like the head of insurance and the head of this and the head of that. And this is how you fill out your time card. And this is how you pick your health insurance. And the head of security came to brief us. And he said, the most important thing that we're going to need to consider is the issue of counterintelligence. There are enemies behind every bush. And they all want to know what we're working on and what we know about them. We have to protect ourselves. So he said, rule number one, there's a steakhouse right down the road. It's the nearest restaurant to the CIA's headquarters. Don't ever go in that restaurant. Why? Because the KGB thinks that we all eat at that restaurant. So any time of the day or night, everybody in that restaurant is a KGB agent waiting for the CIA guy to come in and who forgot to take his badge off. Right?
Yeah.
Don't ever go in that restaurant. Secondly, he said, even our friends spy on us. He said, many of you will come into contact with the 2 Israeli intelligence officers who are based at the Israeli embassy in Washington. There's a representative from Mossad and a representative from Shin Bet. He said, the FBI has been able to identify 187 undeclared Israeli Mossad agents spread all across the United States, spying on our defense contractors to steal our defense secrets. Now, we give the Israelis 99% of what we have. They want to steal that last 1%. There's a famous story when we built the F-35. We said to them, look, we developed this new fighter jet. It's stealth. It's this. It's that. It's amazing. Everybody's going to get it. It's the F-35. They said, we want it. We said, great. We're going to give it to you. We're going to call it the F-35I for Israel. And we're going to just very slightly degrade the avionics. So God forbid if it's shot down by the Iranians or the Syrians or the Russians and they get the avionics, they won't be able to duplicate it. They said, no. We want the F-35 with the avionics. We said, no. Okay, so they're trying to steal the avionics. At the same time, the UAE came to us and said, hey, we want that F-35. And we said, great, we're going to give it to you. We're going to call it the F-35E, E for Emirates. And we're going to slightly degrade the avionics. So God forbid, if the Iranians shoot it down, they can't get it and reverse engineer it. They said, fine, no problem. But the Israelis are here to steal the avionics.
That's one thing I never was able to comprehend. I mean, such a friendly nation who shares intelligence on a constant basis. Not them, us.
Oh, yes. You're 100%
intelligence
right. Yes.
Constantly, all
Right.
the time.
Right.
And we sell all types of weapons to Israel, and that's why it's such a small country,
Right.
but yet so powerful, right?
Yeah.
Why still try to steal secrets?
Because
Why still have these agents?
The Israelis truly believe that they're alone in the world.
Really?
They truly believe it.
So that's their culture, that's their psychology.
It is. Yes to
Trust
both.
nobody but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us the story about when the CIA stopped accepting gifts from.
Yeah, when my very first liaison briefing was very early 1990. I was brand new. I had only been in the CIA for 3 or 4 months. And my boss said, hey, you're going to do your first liaison briefing. Now, when you're in the Directorate of Intelligence, you're declared to a whole bunch of foreign intelligence services, especially when you work on an enemy country like Iraq, like I did. So, most people go through their entire 30-year careers and they're declared to 2 or 3, 4 or 5 foreign intelligence services, where the CIA says to the head of the other intelligence service, this is my guy, he's a CIA officer. Okay, so you're declared. They know you're a CIA officer because you told them you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Israelis would come to headquarters for their briefings. We call them intelligence exchanges. And they would always bring gifts, right? But the gifts would always have listening devices embedded in them with batteries. Like they brought this big seal of the CIA. Oh, we made this beautiful seal of the CIA as a gift for you. You should put it in the director's conference room. And it's completely embedded with microphones and batteries. And we're like, guys, you got to stop doing this. You can't do this. It got to the point where...
What's their response when you bluntly say, hey?
You can't blame us for trying. It's not funny.
There's no consequence.
No, because then they're going to go to the Washington Post and say, the CIA is being mean to us. And then Congress is going to get involved. Say, what's the matter with you?
Do you think, with certainty, you said Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent working here in the U.S. as a sleeper cell or whatever they call it.
I believe he was an access agent, which is a very specific kind of access.
Right? Is that what it means, an access agent? When you have one directorate, you have to complete this task?
No. What it means is, let's say you're the head of Mossad, and you want to know exactly what's going on in Bill Clinton's mind, or Prince Andrew, or Bill Gates, or any of these other people. You're not going to recruit Bill Clinton. He's not going to take your money and then report back to you like, behind the 7-Eleven at 11 o'clock at night. So you do the next best thing. You recruit an agent who's friends with Bill Clinton or who can become friends with Bill Clinton.
So you tell me he wasn't an agent. He became one. He was recruited to become an agent.
Of course.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So initially, speaking of Ghislaine Maxwell, her dad being a Mossad agent.
I wouldn't be surprised if her dad said to Mossad, listen, my daughter's friendly with this guy. You might want to take a look at him.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that shapes foreign policy?
100%. Yes.
To have these compromise at these types of people of this caliber, this level, and we're not even sure if they have anything on Trump, and that's why Trump just like this attacks Iran without a question, right?
Yep.
Is that a possibility?
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
So-
Trump will say that Netanyahu came, asked him to bomb Iran. He said no. This time Netanyahu said, if you don't, we're going to use nuclear weapons. So Trump did the right thing. He did the friendly thing of bombing them with non-nuclear weapons. So he actually saved a lot of Iranian lives. That's what he wants the storyline to be. We have no idea what the truth is.
You spoke of conspiracy theorists. I mean, the recent Charlie Kirk assassination. Do you think in any way, shape, or form this was planned by, I don't know, a foreign government or a group, a deep state of people to just make sure his voice is not heard anymore because he was changing hearts, minds, and souls? He was changing the culture of America.
It's certainly possible. Listen, I'm the least conspiracy-minded person that you will encounter.
Okay.
99.9% of the time, what you see is what you get.
Really?
Yeah. There are so many moving parts in a conspiracy. And most of these organizations that we're talking about, CIA, FBI, Mossad, they are such big, slow, lumbering bureaucracies full of a lot of stupid people.
I mean, I can see they get caught.
Yeah, they get caught. That for everything to just hum perfectly and never be revealed, and nobody ever leaks.
Could it be outside sources, outside people, outside entities?
It could be a compartmentalized operation where, so few people know about the operation that they could pull it off.
What is the one conspiracy you believe in?
What's the one conspiracy that I believe in? I believe that elements of the CIA were involved in the killing of John Kennedy. I believe elements of the Israeli government were involved in the killing of John Kennedy.
Really?
I do.
Again, the Israelis.
Uh-huh.
Which element puts it together?
I was waiting for the president to declassify all of the remaining JFK documents, right?
Yes.
He said he did.
Uh-huh.
He didn't.
Not all of it, yeah.
No. There's still several thousand pages, and I'm told that they point directly at the Israelis.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the benefit of
they
them
had
taking
specifically asked Kennedy for nuclear technology to build a bomb, and he said that he would never give them nuclear technology to build a bomb.
And at the time, Kennedy wanted to inspect Israeli nuclear sites.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I mean, and we did. We went there. We inspected it, just like we did in Iran, right?
And
Same
Iraq,
way.
both.
And in Iraq, yeah. And
you put lead seals, you put cameras, you have spot inspections. The system works.
Yeah. And of course, we never found any, but we all know that Israel has numerous nuclear weapons.
Yeah. In fact, on that Piers Morgan show, I told a little story about a friend of mine who retired from the CIA and started writing books, just pumping out books, 1 or 2 a year. And he's a brilliant writer. And the books are on these really obscure foreign policy issues, like U.S. relations with India during the Kennedy administration, or U.S. relations with Saudi Arabia during the Franklin Roosevelt administration. I love them, but he probably sold 10 or 15 copies. Anyway, he wrote this book about the history of nuclear weapons. It was like a short history of nuclear weapons. And we always, everything we write, we have to send to the CIA for clearance by the Publications Review Board. They sent back his manuscript, and it only had 3 words blacked out. Israeli nuclear program.
That's it.
And he said, it's not our secret. Like, we don't have classification authority over the Israeli nuclear program. It's not up to us to protect the secrecy of Israel's nuclear program. And they said that's the policy.
So where's that policy coming from? Where's that directorate coming from constantly protecting a foreign government?
It originates with AIPAC.
Even in the CIA?
Absolutely. Because remember, the CIA is not a policy organization. It's a policy support organization.
Yes.
So the policy is made at the White House, at the NSC, or the State Department. And then it filters down to the CIA. So if the pressure's on the president then gives the policy to the National Security Advisor, who gives it to the CIA director.
Is the CIA's budget still classified?
Oh, yeah. It always will be.
It always will be.
Yeah.
What would you guesstimate it at?
Well, it was accidentally leaked. If you want to take a look at Mary Margaret Graham CIA budget. I worked for Mary Margaret, who is one of the most horrible humans I've ever encountered in my life. And she accidentally leaked the budget.
$44 billion.
And that was 15 years ago. That was 15 years ago.
I assume it's close to 100
100
right
billion by now. Yeah.
So that's the second person you hate after John Brennan.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate Mary Margaret Graham.
I have another a very interesting question. Where do you think the world is going right now with BRICS?
Oh, yeah.
The United States?
I really believe...
Do you fear anything that might happen in the next
bit.
10, 20 years?
Yeah, I do. I think that we are watching the backside of the American empire. Yeah. Our defense budget is unsustainable. We spend $1 trillion a year just at the Pentagon. $1 trillion a year. We have a national debt. What is it? 13 trillion, and we add 2 trillion every year. 35 trillion. Yeah, 35 trillion, yeah. And we add 2 trillion a year. We can't. In just a few years, we're not going to be able to pay the interest on the debt. Why? Listen, I've been to China. Maybe you have too. How come I can't have bullet trains in my country that go 350 miles an hour? How come our airports look like Khartoum Airport, and you don't even want to sit down because they're filthy and they're run down?
I'm sure you've been to LAX.
We should be ashamed of ourselves,
especially in a city like this.
Especially,
we're gonna have the Olympics.
Exactly. Why can't we have bridges that don't fall into the rivers below them? And I'm looking at Pittsburgh and Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. You know, how come our highways are pockmarked with potholes? The Chinese highways aren't. It's because we spend so much money on the military.
Do you think for us just to still have that American dominance all over the world?
But what's it getting us? Look at what's happening right now. I think there are several major mistakes we've made. One is this outlandish defense budget. We're throwing the money away, and we can't account for it, right? PwC tried for years to audit the Pentagon budget. They just gave up and walked away. Number two, the overuse of sanctions. In Iran, they lack for nothing. Nothing.
I mean, Russia.
Russia, their economy is actually stronger post-sanctions than it was before.
I mean, the ruble went up a little bit, you know,
But they lack for nothing in Iran, nothing. Whatever they need, they make themselves. If they can't make it, they buy it from the Indians, the Chinese, or the Russians. And then Trump just announced last week he's going to sanction the judge in Brazil because the judge found Bolsonaro guilty. Talk about interference.
Yeah, collusion.
In a sovereign nation. He's putting sanctions on, he's threatening sanctions on the Netherlands because of the International Criminal Court, sanctions on the British, sanctions on the French because they declared, they announced a recognition of Palestine. Well, we've gotten to the point where we're sanctioning everybody.
We're like fighting with everybody.
Yeah, and nobody gives a shit anymore.
And his rhetoric just changed against Russia. I don't know if
it did today.
Today.
He met with Zelensky this afternoon.
Yes.
So I think that the world has just decided we're just not going to do business with the United States if this is how they're going to be. Well, let me add one other thing. I happened to be in China last year for a conference, business conference, and I couldn't use my credit card anywhere. But everybody took this thing called the octopus card. So finally I said to one of these shopkeepers, I go, what is this octopus card? He said, oh, it's the Chinese credit card. I said, why don't you just use MasterCard and Visa? And he said, because those go through New York and they make us liable for sanctions. These go through Shanghai. And then we don't care what the Americans do. And I was like, brilliant. Exactly. Now, what happens when the BRICS countries finally announce a unified currency? We're screwed.
Do you think that's going to happen?
I do.
Really?
Not tomorrow, not next year, not in the next 5 years, but eventually, yes, it's going to happen.
That's what Gaddafi wanted to do, and look what happened to North Africa.
And almost got there. But there's a big difference between overthrowing and killing Gaddafi and overthrowing the Chinese, the Russians, the Indians, the Brazilians, the South Africans. Yeah.
No, I understand. Of course, there's a massive difference. But do you think this is the end or the near of the end of the American empire?
I do.
Really?
I think we're seeing the very beginning
Of the end.
of the end. We're on the backside of it.
What's going to cause it just to flip it and sink it?
I think BRICS eventually. First of all, look at the Chinese. Could the Chinese have been any smarter in the way they've played this over the last 50 years?
They're very smart. I mean,
brilliant.
They have their economy grew like nothing.
It's unprecedented in world history.
Double, triple their economy since the 90s.
Yeah.
When Clinton opened up the China trade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't only Clinton. Excuse me, Nixon. Nixon introduced.
Nixon was the one who started it.
Nixon introduced the Chinese, trade. I think he was the first president to go to China visit.
He was.
Right?
Yeah. That's where the phrase "only Nixon could go to China" came from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And since then, I mean, that country just transformed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was an industrial revolution. It was a technological revolution.
It really was.
And until today, it's still happening.
Yeah.
Yes, their real estate sucks.
Yeah, real estate's been hit.
I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're destroying building after building, city after city because nobody can now afford it. They're not building anymore. But so is the world economy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only this.
Yeah, he was on the back of your chair for a long time.
Yeah. But where was I going with this?
Yeah, the Chinese economy.
Yeah, the Chinese economy, and now it's the Chinese economy. Indian economy. It's projected that India is going to take over China.
That's right.
In the next 20 years.
That's exactly right.
I mean, the Russians.
Yeah, they have their own problems.
Yeah, exactly. But all these massive countries coming together, but their total GDP is less than the U.S. GDP.
Yeah,
You know that, right?
still. But in 10 years, they're going to tie us in 10 years. And then it's going to be the Chinese century. That's what I'm worried about. Yeah.
John, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
This was by far my favorite podcast.
Thank you.
My favorite interview.
Thank you very
that
much.
I have done.
Appreciate that.
I sincerely mean this with a smile.
Thank you very much.
You are such an incredible human. And you're speaking of your friend who keeps all the memory. And I said, I don't know how you do it. I mean, day by day, date by date, these names of from Afghanistan. I can't even remember. You just mentioned them,
Abdurrashid Dostum.
There you go.